It's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
and it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
I like this song. I was just enjoying it, Christian. God, Christian is... Did you do something to Christian?
I barely got here.
I thought he'd be thrilled you were back. Now he's salty. Jake and Ben, Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you for making us a part of your day. I'm going to steer clear of Christian. Whatever you need. Do we need to do a read here, Christian?
Not yet.
Is there anything?
I'll let you know.
Anything needs to be done? Okay.
Don't worry.
All right. How's it going over there, Ben?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. Doing better than Christian.
Apparently.
Salty.
I know.
You and I were talking about back to school night because we both had that yesterday. And do you remember your feelings around back to school night as a kid?
I had two different experiences because elementary school I was fine. I was always one of the, handful of kids in the class that was very easy, and I think I did my work. And then I remember my parents coming home from 7th grade, their first parent-teacher conference. They're like, what happened to your grades and your classwork, and why haven't you turned anything in? And I didn't feel like I'd fallen way behind, but apparently I had. And it was the first time I noticed real concern in my future from my parents.
I was always pretty aware of how it was going.
Uh-huh.
And there were times during my, mainly from junior high on, where maybe some terms were a little bit better than others, And that was mostly self-inflicted.
Yeah.
But I remember vividly the anxiety of those moments when parent-teacher conference was going on and I was at home or whatever. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like I knew exactly what was coming. Like you could hear when the garage opened, you're like, oh, boy.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
It's a tough one.
Better sit down.
Yeah.
I know that there's going to be an unpleasant conversation that's going to last for a while.
I was certainly never worried about it, but my parents were worried about it. But I never felt like this is going to go off the rails. Now, I get why, as a parent, if you've never dealt with it before, why you would have no idea what your kids are going to end up doing. And now, as a parent, you have fear of every bad thing that happens in the world either could happen to your kid or your kid could do it. And you start to worry like, uh-oh, it's a B-. What's next? But no, I think my parents had a relatively easy time.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right.
I'm employed. I have a job.
You and I both had pleasant experiences yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were expressing gratitude off the air for
our daughters.
For that.
Yeah.
Yep. It lasted a tight 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real positive stuff. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yep.
It was like, oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
I don't want to, and maybe I will at some point, but be the parent where the teacher like marks out 2 spots on the schedule, being like, we're gonna need a double session.
Well, they specifically want you to come in.
Yeah.
Not just to touch base, but like we need you here.
We're gonna need you.
This is an intervention.
Here. My dad, I won't tell this whole story, but my dad got called into good old Skyline for something my brother did. And my dad, at least this is the way it was told to me, he had one of the all-time great lines where he said to the principal or whoever, he's like, I would like to apologize for my idiot son.
And she said, which one?
Oh, so funny. Yeah. So funny. All right. Well, shout out to the educational system and all the teachers and principals and everybody out there.
Doing God's work, truthfully.
Good to meet with one of your reps yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you catch Mark Harlan with DJ and PK this morning?
I did.
By the way, always good to have an athletic director on the station. I don't know, nuts and bolts. If you're going to do the big noon thing, it's up by the Eccles Tennis Center. That's where you need to go. Yeah,
I mean, he kind of touched on a lot of stuff, and it was a big, wide-ranging interview. I'm not sure they went super deep dive on any one thing specifically, but yeah, it's a huge game. It really is. This game coming up on Saturday is we're finally getting in because we're getting into conference play. we're having more good matchups now than we were the first 3 weeks of the season or first 4 weeks of the season, if you want to count week 0. And Utah, Texas Tech really are going to kick that off. This is a game that, we've brought some attention to from our fans in Lubbock specifically because of our perspective on Texas Tech. And look, through 3 weeks, they've really done exactly what their money spent says they should be doing. They've got the top offense in college football right now. Their quarterback's very good and has been productive, and they're a big play threat. And as a result of that money spent and what you think Kyle Whittingham has built, I don't mean you specifically, it's going to be a huge game on Big Fox at 10 o'clock local time. And University of Utah is rewarded with that attention on campus.
I actually thought most of the most interesting parts of his interview were not football related, which, we're starting with football, obviously, which is a good thing because even with a coach that is planning his next stage in life, and we'll get there at some point or another, stability. I mean, it was interesting hearing him talk about Morgan and how they've sold it as this is a stable program and will continue to be, as opposed to, the alternative of in the recruiting world of, Coach Witt could be gone tomorrow. What are you going to do? I mean, they've really sold that hard, which I think is obviously the smart thing to do. He talked about a bunch of other stuff, Ben. I thought that the decision to build the basketball stadium at Fort Douglas was all but done. That apparently is not the case.
Yep.
He said they're talking about multiple spots and all this sort of stuff. I hope they just refit the Huntsman Center, or knock it down and build it there. He talked about this big university-wide vision of what they're going to build and all these restaurants and stuff like that, and I just can't help but thinking, like, how much is that going to cost?
Sure, I get that.
How much is tuition going up for that?
Yeah. I look, there's space up at Fort Douglas. It is a cool historical area. If you've never gone up to the museum, it's like a 20-minute thing. It's not going to give you 3 hours worth of entertainment, but it is a cool thing. It's a cool part of our history. Recent memory, there was one of the bricks or one of the big stones from 9/11 is up there, which is very cool. Like, there's some cool history up there that I think is important. But I do think it's small enough that you can probably move things around and have success up there. And that's one of the few places where there is a ton of space on campus. And it is not far from the existing Huntsman Center.
But I thought the most interesting stuff he talked about was the surrounding the land, like what college sports is now, and talking about the budget and how you can spend $21 million. He said 15 to 16 of that is going to football. Mm-hmm. I still have no idea how that's legal with Title IX. I have no clue how they're actually doing that under the law of the land. If I were a women's softball player, I would be suing today, but I don't know how that's not happening. But I thought that was interesting. So if 16 out of 21 is going to football, how much of that remaining 5 is going to basketball?
Probably at least 3, right? At least.
Yeah.
And then the other $1.5 to $2 million is getting dispersed here and there. And then you got to hope the NIL makes up whatever else the gap is.
I'm sure gymnastics is going to take a chunk of that.
Yep.
I would guess women's basketball is going to take a chunk.
You look at the number of 4-star and even some 5-star recruits that Utah women's basketball is chasing and has landed, and I think you have to assume that they've got some money coming in.
He talked, though, and here's another thing I don't understand. And if people want to use to call in and weigh in on this stuff or provide further depth, feel free. You can snap talk us as well. But he talked about penalties for going over the salary cap. He's like, well, these are going to be federal penalties. This is a federal court that worked out this whole thing. And I said, okay, or I kept thinking like, okay, that's nice. But the NIL thing, I don't see how that's going away. I don't see how you just limit the income of these players to just what they get from the university. I guess they signed a contract maybe saying they can't do that. I don't know. But I don't know how you stuff that back in the bottle. And then on top of that, if we want to merge two stories that are really interesting to you and I, how fast are these schools going to figure out a Kawhi Leonard situation?
I mean, that's what NIL is. That's all it is.
But paying outside of the rules because we can. I'm not saying that specific apparatus necessarily, although you're right. That's exactly what NIL is. But they're going to figure out other ways to do it. You know what I mean? To pay big-time players. If the idea is to create an even playing field, I'm not convinced that is going to happen.
I knew one person in my life growing up who played college athletics. And this is interesting because of where it was. She played college basketball at Air Force. And girls on that team were getting no-show jobs to be on to play college basketball at Air Force 20 years ago. At least 25 years ago. This has been going on forever. And that's not a green light. That doesn't mean I'm green-lighting it or giving it a thumbs up and saying it's not appropriate. But, yeah, the idea that, like, this $21 million was going to be a set of rules people were going to play by when NIL openly exists, and despite the fact that it's supposed to have this clearinghouse that all these deals are supposed to be approved by, no, there are always just going to be workarounds to this. There have been no-show jobs forever, and, they were supposed to go water a lawn and turn the sprinklers on that were automatic and did them by themselves, and nobody ever checked if they did it, and they got paid as a result.
Yeah, I got it.
This is always going to be the case.
Sure, but, I mean, in the case of our two local schools, Utah is going to be a low-resource school. Thus, a salary cap and this arrangement is terrific for them. BYU, it's the complete opposite. It's like salary cap, okay, that's nice. But you know what? We really like these tech people, giving us an advantage. I mean, it's opposite sides of the coin. The thing with BYU is they weren't cheating forever because it was against the rules.
Right.
So what are the rules now? Is there a blanket rule to keep, I mean, the obvious most famous example is Ryan Smith from supporting the basketball program? We talk about salary caps and all that stuff, that's all well and good, but
I wonder how it will be. Ryan is such an interesting example because he owns a basketball team in the state.
We can pick something else.
But that could be anybody else. Right. That it just gets hairy there because I'm not sure paying an athlete at the college level and then seeing them jump up to the NBA level could be something the NBA tries to eliminate.
Well, let's swap out Ryan and let's put in noted BYU booster Alema Harrington.
Okay.
Who's made a dough.
Has billions.
Billions and billions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's to stop Alema from supporting the basketball team in that way?
Yeah.
Is there anything? Is there
No, I mean, the clearinghouse is the thing that is supposed to, at the very least, audit what these deals are, But
I think what Harlan and others are betting on is that this evens the playing field somewhat, and I don't see how it does that. If anything, it's just a cat in the wall. Because the now you've got a different revenue stream that's coming from the university itself, which didn't exist before, but I don't think it evens anything.
Yeah, it's inflationary inherently, right? If the idea is everyone's trying to reach the very highest point and you give every single college team the same height stepladder to step on, you still have to go higher than everybody else to get to the highest point. That stepladder doesn't end up being a benefit to any one person, right? Everybody's a step higher. So that $21 million that you have, you can adjust how you want to use it. We talked about this when this number first came out is, will there be any schools anywhere that say, you know what, we're going to buck a trend and we're going to give $10 million to our women's basketball team or to our softball team or to our gymnastics team to establish a different identity than everybody else. But if just the cost of doing business is $17 million for your college football team, then nobody actually gets an advantage. The only people who benefit from it are the players, but no one benefits from it. Not the schools, I should say. The families do, the players do, and if you want to say that that's a good thing, I would listen to that argument. I have no problem with saying these players deserve to be paid for their work if that's your perspective. But no, there's not going to be any one school that benefits more than the other by getting these $20 million. It's still going to be whoever has the extra money to spend.
My point is, I think a lot of people within the sport, specifically at the athletic directors in universities, not all universities, because I'm sure that Ohio State loves the Wild West. So not everybody falls in this category, but I think most in athletics are really screaming out for some sort of regulation in the sport. Really think the sport needs it, really is cheering for some sort of rules and regulations and put things back on the tracks and be organized and whatever. A lot of those voices are the same voices that pushed against this whole mess to begin with, because it was regulated. Even though there were no-show jobs going back, there was at least rules. There was at least some sort of try to even the playing field type of rules in the whole thing. Yeah. And that has all gone out the window. And I think most athletic directors, and I would guess Mark Harlan falls into this category, let me give you this example. I'm reading with my daughter the younger version of the Iliad. So we're reading about the Trojan War, right? So the whole 9 years of this war is them not being able to get through the gates and walls of Troy, famously.
Right.
The horse comes in, it's full of people. They empty out, they kill the sentries, and they open the gate, and the Greeks flood in. War over, right? Well, Mark Harlan, in this case, or I think most universities as a whole, just want the Greeks to go away. Just want to put in regulation to get everybody who's been screeching about unfairness and all this stuff, they just want them to be satisfied so you can get back to regulating in some way, shape, or form. I think this is... people are hoping that this will get the Greeks to go away, that this will get back to some normalcy. It'll be regulated. We'll have some sort of even playing field. And my hope is that I really do. I don't like its current whatever. My hope is that I don't think this does that.
The $21 million.
The salary cap, the structure, all of it. I don't think this does that.
Until you eliminate NIL, no, it doesn't do anything.
And he's talking about multi-year contracts, which I also think would be a good thing. I don't know how an amateur signs a contract, and that's not an employment agreement. Again, I don't understand how any of this is legal. But I think that's a step in the right direction. I just don't think this accomplishes it. I don't think this salvages what's left of Troy, and all of a sudden the walls go back up.
I think it's good for the players. I don't think it does anything to help the universities. I don't know if it's necessarily bad for the universities, but no, it's the ultimate cat in the wall. It's quite literally again, the explanation of the cat in the wall. There's a cat in your wall. How do you get it out? One solution is put another cat in the wall and see if it fights it out, screeches it out, whatever. Becomes a friend and pulls it out.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Cat in the wall. Hey, good job, Christian.
But
my favorite was when he tied the string around it and he's like, okay, I'm going to put this cat in there. It's going to make friends with the other cat. And then we'll rip this cat out and the friend cat will follow it.
But
that cat just ended up in the wall.
You end up just with a cat in the wall. And then you just have multiple cats in your wall. The money, or in this situation, who was it who went inside the gates? In the
Greeks.
The Greeks. The first time, or was it the Trojans?
No, the Greeks went into Troy
in the horse.
Okay.
You're a history minor, right?
It was a gift,
right?
Basically, they acted like they were leaving and surrendering and left this gift, and they brought it in, and then everybody knows the rest.
But no, that's not actually what is happening. No, it's just another cat in the wall. It's just more money.
Right.
It's not going to stop anyone from putting more cats in the wall. Or whatever they wanted. No, it's not going to fix anything at all.
I don't think it's going to accomplish what it's...
It makes the players richer, which, again, if you want to argue that that's the most important end game, I would listen to that. In all honesty, if you think that's what the most important part of this was. If your goal was to create a more fair landscape for college athletics, you haven't done that in the slightest.
I actually don't think this is better for players, but that's not a... I mean, that's definitely more of an opinion than a fact.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of this is truly good for players. And we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but talk to somebody like Hans about, or our friend Gunther, about sticking it out and going through the tough times and all that stuff and what better people they come out on the other side. I don't know if Bentleys and Ferraris to 18-year-olds who then play at 4 different schools, I don't know if is that good for them? Is that good for those people? I don't know.
It's probably going to be a case-to-case basis.
Yeah,
pay off your parents' house, probably pretty good. Does it?
I'll
do
tell
you
you
bounce around and never get better like Nico Iamaleava and miss the NFL? Might be worse.
I'll tell you from my standpoint, I think it would have been bad for me.
In retrospect, I probably would have taken the $250,000.
But I have a buddy though who is unbelievably wealthy from like one of those kind of families, like generational wealth and that sort of thing. Most well-adjusted dude I've ever met. Like had probably access to whatever he wanted to, all that sort of stuff, and not like that at all. So who's to say money, you know,
Again,
who's to say who would turn out how? But I don't know if that would have been positive for me as a young person. If I bounced around to 3 different universities and put a bunch of temporary money into my pocket, how that would have gone.
It's a case-to-case basis. It really is. I truly believe
I
it.
hope I would have opened up some sort of investment account and then just ignored it or something. I don't know, but what was the likelihood of that at 21? Super
Zero.
low.
Yeah, 0. Yeah. Did you see the Texas fraternity won the Powerball, they think? It was a pledge, won the Powerball for $1.8 billion.
Wow.
And this entire pledge was, I mean, this entire fraternity, you know more about the language, but it was a pledge who I think won.
Okay.
And of course, I think they accepted him. He should have dropped out of school that day. But to the point of what we would have done with the money and why it wouldn't have been a good thing. But yeah, it's all these kids going nuts. It's like, yeah, what's that first party going to look like when an 18-year-old wins $1.8 billion? He's going to spend $80 million at the frat house, and half of it's going to be gone immediately.
No, see, here's how you don't know how fraternities work, because at least, you know, things are different these days. But at least back in my day, you would have gone up to that pledge and you would have said, guess what, pledge? We all just won the lottery.
Apparently it was a prank. I'm Googling it.
Oh,
It was a
too
prank.
bad. All right. Stay tuned.
Boy, that's tough.
More next.
That's a tough prank.
97.5.
To think he won $1.8 billion.
The KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Is this for Ben? How often did you hear this song in Nashville?
What is this song?
The little bit of chicken fried or whatever song? I don't know what it's called, but I've heard it a zillion times.
You know the song. You have to know the song.
I don't have to do anything.
No, you have to.
I'm an American. I can do whatever I want.
If you're not American if you don't know the song. I hate country music, but this song's all right.
Sounds like you don't hate country music so much. They played Wagon Wheel. I heard Wagon
Yeah,
Wheel.
I bet you did. Nominate the esports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nominations at kslsports.com/contests. Listen every Thursday to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Did you request any songs when you went to Nashville and Broadway? If you have never been to Broadway, it's in Nashville. It's a bunch of honky tonks. They all have 3 bands at least. You know, one upstairs, main floor, basement, whatever. Some have more. But they basically stand up there and play for tips.
Yeah.
And so they take a lot of requests and they'll play whatever. And I told Ben, I was like, you got to take a little tipping money and come with not deep cuts, but not obvious ones either. Because those are the ones that are popular.
My fiance tried to while I was in the restroom. And she didn't tip enough, and she did too much of a deep cut. She did not take the Jake Scott approach, so the music never got played.
Yeah. See, because deep cuts don't make them any money on the tip front because nobody knows.
And people leave.
Knows what the song is.
If you're playing a song that nobody knows, people leave, and then they don't make money.
But I'm sure they play that song or Friends in Low Places 9,000 times.
Yep.
So anyway, that was, I thought, the challenge, which you had to come up with something popular, but not something that they played a million times.
They did play Shabuzi. Made me think of you.
I heard that.
Because that's what you said. You heard a bunch.
A ton.
Yeah.
All right. Top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Buckle up, guys. Conference play starts this week for Utah, and that means we are getting official injury reports.
It is a little silly that the actual story is that there is an injury report, not the names that are on the injury report. Right? That's the storyline, is that for the first time we are seeing this. And I don't know if there's any real surprises for Utah. Rabbit Evans, Dadrian Zipperer, we knew they were both out after injuries last week. Josh Sovereign, Isaiah Garcia out. And then nobody listed on doubtful, questionable, or probable, which is what caught my attention. There's not a single person on your 100-man roster that is questionable. There's not a single person who had an ankle roll in practice this week or a jammed finger that's like, I don't know, I might not be able to play, I guess. Not one person.
All I read on that injury report was meow, meow, meow. Have you ever had the situation with your kids? I can't even think of something specifically, but I've definitely been through it where you say, do not cross this line or whatever.
Absolutely.
And they get just up to I'm going to do just enough that you're not going to ground me or send me to timeout or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all this is. Mm-hmm. The people out aren't, let's see, I'd have to go back through it, but at least 2 of those guys are out for the year, and they've confirmed that, right? Mm-hmm. Are all 4 out for the year?
I don't know.
But I don't know. To take this seriously is just hilarious. Because that's just, this is just enough. I'm just here so I don't get fined, to quote the great Marshawn Lynch.
Well, especially if you contrast that with Texas Tech's injury report.
Which seemed to do a real job of trying to fill it out.
But the sad part is now Texas Tech's going to go, why am I taking this seriously? Why would I do this? Because that's how coaches think.
Yeah. A couple of people try to, and I'm not trying to say Utah, maybe this is all that's going to be on the injury report for Utah. We don't know.
Ben, you are the guy who just said quite appropriately that you're telling me on 100 and whatever man roster, there's not somebody who's got like a banged up ankle that might not be able to go, or the flu or something.
Right. And technically they should be listed as questionable. They're not. Maybe they play, and Utah says, see, we were right. We didn't put them as questionable because they ended up playing. It's the first one.
But they're not breaking the rules. So what?
No, right. They're not breaking the rules.
That's why this is a cat in the wall, because what's the point?
But a team like Texas Tech may try and come out and say, like, well, these 3 guys are out, and they have 3 names listed as doubtful, they have 3 names listed as questionable, and they have 5 names listed as probable. So, yeah, they try and do it the right way, and when they recognize it didn't benefit them in any way, and Utah faces 0 blowback, because inevitably Utah's going to have a player who doesn't play, whether they just don't get reps because the depth charts insist that they're not good enough, or they lose their job in week 3 because they saw something on film last time, and they say, well, also he had an ankle. But really it was a depth chart thing. Right. How do you enforce this? And ultimately, we're going to end up seeing more of this NA, which is what Utah put in the probable, questionable, doubtful, than we are what I think Texas Tech is going to doing, unless for some reason the Big 12 wants to come out and start fining people, which I would be surprised if they want to do that at this point.
If the league got grumpy with Utah for doing this, you know what I would do? The next smart alecky thing? I would list my backup punter as questionable for every game. Yeah. Every single game.
Don't know if we're going to see him.
Have no idea, honestly. Or somebody that's redshirting. I'd figure out a way to make a joke out of it. Just invent a name, see if anybody notices.
Who's he?
Ben Anderson's doubtful for the game today. Oh, wow.
So when do they have to release these? They've got, is it 3 the week of? It's Wednesday, Friday, Saturday? Or is it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
I believe there's another one coming out today.
And then at least another one coming out, is it 90 minutes before game time? So there's at least 3 that are coming out.
If I were Joey McGuire, I would put my whole team on there.
Oh, it would just look, every single one would look wildly different. Oh, we changed our mind. Yeah, I didn't. What do you want me to do?
This is such a, I hate this.
They were doubtful on Wednesday. They're probable on Friday. No chance they play on Saturday.
I'm happy for Steve Bartle because this gives him something to write about several times a week, but this is meaningless. Right?
Yeah, other than the guys aren't going to play.
So shout out to Bartle, whose life is a little easier because of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But nobody else benefits from this.
I'm with you.
Not even the degenerate gamblers.
I agree. That's who pays attention. I don't think it helps them.
All right, what's next?
Number 2, big news from around the world of college football. They're officially moving to a single transfer portal window.
So they're closing the spring window, which I think you would be happy about, with the idea that, after spring football, they don't transfer as often. You don't have that extra window of people leaving. Ideally, that would be some toothpaste back in the tube.
I mean, this is unenforceable too, honestly. Unless all the coaches do it, because all the coaches like it. Because all the coaches definitely do not like having players transfer in the middle of the night.
Right.
Most coaches want something, like, to your point, the toothpaste going back in the tube. But, I mean, Jake Retzloff found another place to play.
Yeah, outside of the window. right? He had to leave school. And
I
then
think he had to
enroll in a
walk
different school.
on, but in the NIL world or even the paying world where scholarships don't mean anything anymore, like, who cares? You can still do it. So I don't know. If coaches stick to the plan and actually stick to that window, well, then I think it could work. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And obviously, Retzlaff was extenuating circumstances. It was a unique case, but players leave after spring all the time. I don't know if that's going to stop.
Quick update on just looking at what some of the dates are. The 2-window system used to be, 30 days? There was 2 30-day windows, and now there's a 45 and a 15. So I don't know. I don't expect this to change a whole lot.
No, I don't either. All right, what's next?
Number 3, Thursday Night Football tonight. The Bills going to try and squish the fish.
You're getting better with your headlines there, Christian.
Thanks, man.
Or did Ben write that one?
No, I did. Give me
That was
some
all you?
credit.
Well, yeah, Ben can't write a creative headline.
My in-laws are from upstate New York, and that is a popular phrase when the Bills play the Dolphins.
Squish
the fish.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like it. It probably won't be hard. Where are you at on Mike McDaniel? You still think he's a genius?
No, sadly. He knows football extraordinarily well, as does every single coach that is in football for the most part, other than, what's our guy, Nathan?
Oh, Nate Hackett.
Nate Hackett.
Nate Hackett.
Everyone else knows
That guy's a clown.
everything there is about football and how to counter everything and every design you can have. It's about more than that. It's about managing your roster, managing the people on it, and I don't think Miami knows how to do that. So.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers did that on purpose?
Yes.
Like got an offensive coordinator, pulled him aside, and was like, "Listen, dude, you're going to make a lot of money if you just leave me alone.
Yes.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't talk to me. Just take a nap in your office, and you're going to make a lot of money." On 3, ready? Break.
Yeah, you hire a guy who can't do anything because then they can't get in your way. And that's not the worst idea. If you also know how to do everything and you feel like you're better at it, which most aren't, but some are good enough, and Aaron Rodgers was good enough to know better than the guys around him, yeah, it probably makes sense.
I just don't think that, hiring coaches or evaluating coaches is really tricky because there's just not a coach out there that's good at everything. And if you look at a guy like McDaniel who's like, "Hey, I'm young and wacky and I want to be your buddy," and then the team is undisciplined and all these other byproducts happen, that's not a shock. He probably is good at calling plays and drawing up this and that, but he's not very good at managing athletes. I would love to question the Phil Jackson is the best NBA coach of all time because he had all these incredible players or whatever. But you know what Phil's superpower was? He was a great manager of young athletes, young people.
The
He
Zen
was
master.
the Zen master.
Yeah.
That's what made him great. The triangle offense is a joke. The people that would credit Phil's X's and O's for his success that is not true. If you want to say Phil is the best coach at coaching a basketball game, that is not true. But is Phil the best of all time of having teams pull in the same direction and get the most out of his players? Absolutely. McDaniel might be a genius drawing up plays.
Yeah.
But that team is chaos. And it's not all his fault because Miami has sucked since Shula?
Yeah. Look, Jerry Sloan wasn't a great X's and O's guy. It's not what Jerry Sloan was known for.
No, he ran the same play over and over
He just
again.
ran it over and over,
Yeah.
and he went out and got an offensive guy and a defensive guy and said, "Come in and run the system and teach my guys how to do it, and I'll handle everything else." And he handled everything else really well. And everyone listened to him and paid attention and bought into what the assistants were saying.
And his teams all had identities, and they all had certain connective tissue that made them successful. But you know what? They showed up to play every single game.
Yeah.
So evaluating coaches is really interesting. Beware. What's his Tom Brady's bozo OC that keeps getting rehired in New England?
Yeah. He was your
Josh McDaniels. Christian's guy. Christian loved those teams. Those were the TiVo
Josh
teams.
McDaniels. There's
Mike McDaniel.
Well, I was going to say Nate Hackett and then Adam Gase.
Yeah.
All have connections at the Broncos, and they're all guys that got these head coaching opportunities because they were propped up by really good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's a good biz. It's
Adam
the best spot
Gase
to be.
with the goofy looking eyes. Remember that dude just looked like a serial killer.
Yeah. Follow along with a guy who knows what he's doing, and it's going to make you look good.
Nate Hackett. Yeah, his 1 year in Denver. Spectacular. 2 years in Denver.
Oh, no,
No,
never
it
mind.
was
He didn't
only
even
one.
make it through the first year. It was like eight games.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, this is. And then Sean Payton came in firing. He said, like, this was the worst coached team in the history of the NFL.
By the way, quick change. They are down to truly one window in college football. But once you enter, you never have to pull your name out. So you can put your name in right after the season ends, and you just stay in the transfer portal as long as you want, which I guess would make it hard to go back and compete in spring. But I'm sure some players will try.
Oh, you're going to have players skipping spring on purpose.
Yeah, just skipping spring.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm
I
open.
don't want to do spring ball. You want a month of
Working
camp?
out, yeah.
Yeah, no, a hard pass.
So it'd be interesting to see how that works.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
Kyle Whittingham and the Utes open up Big 12 play with a huge game against Texas Tech. Catch a special Ute edition of College Football Saturday starting at 8 a.m. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Let's see, where is this thing? There it is. Join us coming up on Tuesday, Ben. The show is going up north. We're headed up to Ogden. We're going to be at Belliston Jewelry from 10 to noon, 1155 36th Street, Belliston Jewelry, locally made just for you, cherished for generations. And I think Coach Mental might be joining us in person. I've got my fingers crossed he's going to drop by.
He's
So
buying us both earrings.
Weber
Wait.
State fans, make sure and join us at Belliston.
What's the closest you ever got to piercing your ears?
I wanted to when I was like in elementary school because
Same.
because Andre Agassi had an earring,
Yeah.
and that was like my tennis hero, and but I never did it. I was a little too young for that.
I make fun of my parents for parenting because that's your job as a child. But I remember telling my mom I wanted to get my ear pierced when I was younger because I don't know why. And my mom was like, why don't you wait till you're 13? And knowing by that point, inevitably, it would have washed over me and be gone so far in the past that I had no interest in it. And she was exactly right. That was a very smart, it was good parenting.
So we talked about facilities yesterday. It was really interesting. We talked about facilities on the show yesterday, and we talked a little bit about it with Mark Harlan and what they're going to do with the Huntsman Center and the basketball facility. I got a text from my buddy yesterday, Ben, who lives in Prince George's County, Maryland,
Okay.
which is basically a suburb, more or less, of Washington, D.C., but it's on the Maryland side.
Okay.
He is a Commies season ticket holder.
Okay.
And he loves it because it's like 10 minutes from his house, even though everybody else complains because it's in the middle of nowhere, Maryland, FedEx Field. Mm-hmm. He texted me yesterday, but it became official, I guess, that the Commies are moving back to RFK, and it's going to be a new facility in 2030. And RFK is downtown D.C. So he's grumpy. He now has
Sure.
to go into D.C. But what we ended up talking about is what his ticket prices are going to end up being in 2030. Yeah, because it's the song and dance, right? They're going to build the world's greatest stadium. They're going to charge 3 times what it was in FedEx Field. And your average fan is going to bear the burden because it's this new shiny thing, and they'll sell those seats. They don't care who they sell them to. They just want that revenue. We've seen it so many times with these new facilities. So is this too much of a hot take? If you're going to do the Huntsman Center and build a new building, build a real piece of crap.
Okay.
Just a real piece of garbage. No amenities, no nothing. Jam those seats in there, make it a real pile of garbage, and just leave ticket prices alone. I'm tired of we built the world's greatest stadium that we spent $3 zillion on, and guess what? Your ticket prices are now 3 times what they were. And I'm not trying to cast blame on anybody or anything or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a repeating pattern. And then you go and you say, God, why are these ticket prices so unbelievable? And they look back at you and say, well, you're coming to the Taj Mahal, dude. So you're going to deal with it. I fear, and not to go the common man on you, but I fear that in sports, because of how easy it is to say yes to, we'd love to build the world's best stadium. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. We want that. And then they say, well, you're going to have to charge your fans double at least. And they go, well, we'll cross that bridge. But let's build the world's greatest stadium. I'm now firmly in the camp of just build a real pile of garbage.
Okay.
But sell tickets at a reasonable rate. I don't care. I love the amenities at Delta Center, and I am speaking with hyperbole here.
Of course.
But would I rather stand in line for an hour and a half for a beer or pay $500 a ticket? You know,
right. Yeah.
The amenities are great, and part of the reason they up the amenities is because they have to justify the high ticket price. If you're going to pay $1 zillion to come, we're going to have a drone serve you pizza because you just ordered it on your phone or whatever it is the Intuit Dome is doing and all this sort of stuff. It costs so much money that you have to price your tickets a certain way to pay for the building. God knows what it costs to go to a Warriors game, moved into San Francisco in a brand new world-class building. Heaven, I'll tell you, the good folks of Oakland aren't going to the games anymore.
No, the funny thing is all these updates to make the ice more visible for the Mammoth is actually going to just price some people out of being able to see it. Now, look, going and watching a game and only being able to see one of the goals and not all the players was less than ideal. And I sat in some of those seats. And
these situations are more nuanced than my argument. I am prepared to accept that.
No, you're right. Those tickets that were $15 or $20, whatever they were, are no longer going to be affordable for people who that's their only opportunity to go see the game. And I actually will credit Ryan Smith and what the Jazz have done and the Mammoth have done as far as trying to make tickets available to people who can't afford to spend that much money on tickets because tickets are getting so absurdly expensive to go to these sporting events. I had the thought at Nissan Stadium, just like, where is a good spot in football? Now, this is a different conversation that I think football is a terrible in-person sport, period. It's so much better on TV. It's crazy people will spend money on tickets to go to the games when they are so much more enjoyable on TV, in my opinion. That's a very lucky take I have because we've watched the games in so many different ways, and I've sat in press boxes, and I've sat in lower bowl, and I've sat in the upper bowl. Now I know what the difference is, but no, you're not wrong, other than no one's ever going to say we're building the most average stadium to get good prices. It's going to have to be a part of the negotiation for, hey, if a city is going to fund or taxpayers are going to fund an arena, you have to make sure that those same taxpayers can be the ones who go to the game and benefit from it being there.
I love that argument.
It's going to have to be in the conversation. And by the way, I think there was some of that with Delta Center.
I will say this. With professional sports, it is. You could argue to me that it is different than collegiate sports. In the vast majority of circumstances, those are public universities and should be accessible to the public. And that should be some sort of priority. And when I hear, we're going to build a huge sports complex and the fanciest new stadium you've ever seen, I'm just hearing to myself, we're going to price everybody out of this.
We haven't found the limit yet of where businesses won't buy season tickets, but I would be careful with that as well because at some point you will.
But my buddy's kind of bent.
I understand.
He was like, FedEx, they have to keep prices low at FedEx because the stadium is a pile of garbage.
It is the worst.
And when he said that, I was like, in this case, that pile of garbage is really working in his favor. My buddy doesn't make $1 million a year. Like he's got 3 kids that are really young and has to operate life on a budget. Like budgets in some season tickets to the commies, and now
it's the catch-22 of my whole trip. Had that arena been good, I wouldn't have been able to get tickets for $60.
Nope.
And I wouldn't have gone.
Right.
But that's the right price I paid, but also the experience was not very good.
And football in particular is different because there's so few home games. Baseball, the tickets stay relatively low, even though they're building these just crazy
Because the
arenas.
supply is so high.
Because there are so many games.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, stay tuned. The Big 12 Power Poll is coming up next.
I've been waiting for this all week. I
More
couldn't wait to get back from vacation.
Jake and Ben next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.